Breidowitz, Rabbi Wiener, and all my precious and dear friends and Talmidim. It's always a pleasure to be in the yeshiva and see all these wonderful youngsters, future Talmidei Chachamim, and future stars in Klal Yisrael. And today we also have the special privilege of hosting our Yarchei Kala Talmidim. So what is Yarchei Kala all about? So you people from America, probably involved in your business and your parnassus, for a week, you just feel like a yeshiva man once again. Back to yeshiva, back to the source, back to what is really important to all of us, back to the yeshiva. The yeshiva is our oldest institution. In Yom Ches Ches, the Gemara says, Avraham Zokan v'Yoshe b'yeshiva, Yitzchak Zokan v'Yoshe b'yeshiva, Yankov Zokan v'Yoshe b'yeshiva, u'miyameyam shel avoseinu, leposku yeshiva mehem. So the very first Jew was the very first Rosh Yeshiva. And maybe the biggest Rosh Yeshiva in history, because the Rambam writes, Perek Aleph Mehilchas Avodas Kechovim, Ad she'amad eitan ze, v'nikbetzu elav alafim v'revavot. Thousands, tens of thousands of Talmidim. V'heim anshe beis Avraham. So it's a pleasure to see you all. This coming Sunday is Shavuos B'Tamuz, and we enter the 3 weeks of mourning, the 3 weeks in which we remember tragedies that struck our people, our forefathers. Remembrance is one of the most important and fundamental themes in Yiddishkeit. We are to remember our days of glory, and that is Shalosh Regalim and Shabbos, Zecher Yetzias Mitzrayim. We also are to remember our days of tragedy, and that is what the 4 fast days associated with Chorban Beis Hamikdash are all about. And the Novi Zechariah says, Tzoma Revi'i v'Tzoma Chamishi, Tzoma Shvi'i v'Tzoma Asiri, Yehiyu leBeis Yehuda, leSosoin uleSimcha, v'Emes v'Shalom ahevu. So the very first mention of these 4 fast days, Shavuos B'Tamuz, Asor B'Teves, Tzom Gedalia, and the terrible climax of Tisha B'Av are first mentioned in the Novi Zechariah. And it is interesting, they are mentioned in a positive context and not in a negative one. Tzom Revi'i v'Tzom Chamishi, Tzom Shvi'i v'Tzom Asiri, Yehiyu leBeis Yehuda, leSosoin uleSimcha leMoedim Tovim, v'Emes v'Shalom ahevu. So this posuk is a pledge, it's a promise, it's a prophecy, it's a wish, it's a dream that these days of tragedy and mourning will be transformed, ultimately transformed into a day of joy. But what kesher, how do we understand the seifa of this posuk? V'Emes v'Shalom ahevu. So we need to understand what brought about this tragedy of Chorban Bayis, and why is it important to remember? It is important to remember because it is up to us to rectify what was wrong and to fix what was broken. And the Rambam in Hilchos Taniyos writes, Yesh sham yomim shekol Yisrael mis'anim behem. There are days in which all Israel fasts, because of the tzaras, the tragedy that befell our forefathers. Leftoyach halavavos bedarkei hatshuva. So the Rambam explains, why are we to remember these days of tragedies? To open our hearts to tshuva. The reason we are to remember is because we should be better. You probably all remember a Maamar Chazal called Dor Shelo Nivne Beis Hamikdash B'Yomav. What do Chazal say? Ke'ilu charav b'yamav. No, that doesn't appear anywhere, that Ma'amar Chazal. It is what people usually say. It is the Yerushalmi in Masechet Yoma, Daf Daled. And what the Yerushalmi says is far more harsh, far more demanding. Kol dor shelo nivne beis hamikdash miyamav malan olav ke'ilu hu hechrivo. Because when you say ke'ilu charav b'yamav, it transpired. It transpired. It didn't just transpire. Somebody bears responsibility. And who bears responsibility? It is you. Mom leaves the house for 5 minutes and she tells the kids, I'm going down to the grocery just to buy a bottle of milk. And take care. I want to find the house exactly as I am leaving it. 5 minutes later, she's back. The big window is broken. The vase that was on the table is on the floor, and there's water all over. And the mother asked her kids, who did it? And they all respond together, no one. It happened. And mother says, it didn't happen because windows don't break themselves, and a vase doesn't go just jumping off the table. Somebody did it, and I want to know who. So when we say Kol dor shelo nivne beis hamikdash b'yamav ke'ilu charav b'yamav, it happened. It didn't just happen. Someone bears responsibility, and that someone is you. Malan olav ke'ilu hu hechrivo. Because if we don't have a beis hamikdash, it is only because we don't deserve one. If we would deserve one, we would have one. And that is why we need to remember. We need to remember to try to be better. So what caused Churban Beis Hamikdash? Regarding Bayis Rishon, there's a stira between two different sugyas in Shas. Yom Tes, the Gemara says the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because of Gimel Averes Chamuris Shebetayra, the most terrible 3 sins, the most horrific transgressions. Shvichas Damim, Gili Arayis, and Avodah Zarah, adultery, idolatry, and murder. But in the Torah Daf Pei Aleph, the Gemara says, Alma of the Haaretz, Dovazani Shalach HaChomim Lenaviyim LaMalachi Ashoras, and they didn't know the answer. Ad Shakodesh Baruch Hu Piresh. Till HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Al Ozvam Es Toirasi, Shelo Baruchu B'Toira Tchila. So what caused Churban Beis Hamikdash, the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash? Was it Gimel Averes Chamur Shebetayra, or was it Bitul Torah? Seems to be a contradiction. The Torah Zov in Simei Mem Zayin asks this question, and many others as well. And my feeling is this. The direct cause was obvious. The direct cause was obvious. This is something that everybody witnessed. Too much murder, avodah zarah, gilui arayos. The big question was, how did this happen? How could there be a Jewish avodah zarah? Kadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, "V'gam b'cha yaminu le'olam." How could a Jew be a shoifech damim? If the Gemara in Yevamos says, "Shloshes monim yesh be'umet zeh rachmonim, goyim lechasodim." How could this happen to our people, to our families, to our children? That was the big question nobody knew to explain. Till HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Al Ozvam Es Toirasi. If you leave Torah, then there is nothing left. If you leave Torah, then you fall, and you fall to the lowest domains. And that was what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said. Shaloi Baruch Hu b'Torah Tchilo, and the Ran explains in the name of Rabbeinu Yoina. They didn't cherish Torah. They didn't appreciate Torah. They didn't understand how essential and important is Torah to us as individuals, as communities, as a nation, as a people. That was the big question, and that is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered. Alozvam esterosi, shaloi bocho b'Torah techila. So the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed primarily by Bittul Torah, which caused a total disintegration of Jewish society, which ultimately culminated in the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. Coming back to the Gemara in Yom of Tes, what caused the Churban of Bayis Sheni? And the Gemara says they did learn Torah. They were diligent in the performance of their mitzvahs. However, sinas chinam, total lack of harmony and love between Jews. Sinas chinam. And the Gemara says this comes to prove and to teach us shkula sinas chinam keneged gimel averes chamures shebetoira. So we lost the first Beis HaMikdash for Bittul Torah and the second Beis HaMikdash for sinas chinam. And these obviously are the two most important fundamentals of Jews as a people. The love of Torah. Every day in the morning, before starting davening, we all quote a Mishnah in the beginning of Masechet Peah. V'Talmud Torah keneged kulam. And at the end of the verse, Perek in Kiddushin, the Gemara says, what is more important, Talmud or Maisa? The performance of mitzvahs or the study of Torah? And the Gemara says, Talmud Gadol. And why is studying Torah more important than anything else? Talmud mevi lidei Maisa. Without learning Torah, you can never appreciate what is your duty in this world and what is the way to achieve closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How to be a good Jew. And that is the importance of Talmud Torah. And that is the importance of a yeshiva. And that is why the yeshiva is the most important institution we have. Many of you probably remember Rashi. Es Yehuda Sholach Lefonav Goishno Yaakov Avinu and his family, Shivim Nefesh, 70 souls, are on their way to Eretz Yisrael with all their belongings. And in the middle of this journey, Yaakov Avinu tells Yehuda, you run forward like a scout and you go. And Yehuda, please, it's not written anywhere, but I just use my imagination. What the discussion was. Yaakov Avinu tells Yehuda, out of the blue, Yehuda, pack up, take the best horse we have, and run ahead. And Yehuda says, why? This is such a pleasant delight. What an experience. We're all together. And you teach us Torah every day. I'm together with my brothers, with the entire family. Why should I run ahead alone? And Yaakov Avinu says, Letaken loy beis Talmud. I want to know that I have a kollel when I arrive there. And Yehuda says, Abba, you could trust me. You know, I'm reliable. I'm going to open a kollel for you when you get there. Why do I need to go ahead? And Yaakov Avinu says, Yehuda, you don't understand. I will not set foot in a town unless I know there is a Beis Medrash waiting for me. When we're going to get there, that's too late. I want to know that when I set foot in a town, there's a Beis Medrash waiting for me. There's a Beis Medrash with a Shas and a few additional Sfarim and a Mishnayos and Chamisha Chumash Torah and all the rest. Yehuda, you run ahead. So Ahavas Torah is what yeshiva is all about. And that is why we're all here in this magnificent, wonderful Beis Medrash. And the second important fundamental is Ahavas Reim. Love each other care for each other. Because sinas chinam is what brought about Churban Bayis Sheni, the destruction of the second Beis Hamikdash. And these two are the bedrock, are the fundamentals of Am Yisrael, of Klal Yisrael. And they're more important than anything else. So the Navi says, I promise, Tzoma Ravi v'Tzoma Chamishi, Tzoma Asiri, Tzoma Shvi'i v'Tzoma Asiri, Yehiyu leBeis Yehuda, leSasayin uleSimcha, uleMoyadim Tovim. You will ask, when? When will it be? The Navi Zechariah says, I can't tell you when, but I could tell you how. When is up to you. How will this come to be? How will these terrible days of mourning and of tragedy and of sadness be transformed to the most joyous days? V'hu emes v'ashalom ahevu. Emes is Torah. Chaysama shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu is emes, and our Torah is Torah's emes. It is the only and ultimate truth. When you will love emes, you will love Torah, and you will fix the churban of the first Beis Hamikdash shalei Baruch Hu b'Torah techila, and you will be like Aaron HaKohen, oyev shalom v'roidev shalom, oyev esabrias u'makavan HaTorah, talmid hachacham amar b'shalom b'yoinam, and you will fix what broke the second Beis Hamikdash. It is then that we will be zoicha to the blessing, to the bracha of the Navi. So as we approach the 3 weeks, these 21 days of tragedy, of mourning, these are some things we need to think about and deal with. So I turn to all our wonderful Talmidim, young boys from America, from the entire world. You have the schus to learn Torah in Yerushalayim. You have the schus to learn in this magnificent yeshiva. I don't know whether the Yeshivas ever talked to you about the Or Somayach. The name of our yeshiva is Or Somayach. Do you know who the Or Somayach was? You know, I don't want to make a poll or a survey here to our Talmidim. But the Meir Simcha of Dvinsk was one of the greatest Gedolim. His personal life was tragic. He has no offspring. There are no eneklich of the Meir Simcha. He wasn't ever zeicha to see a grandchild. His personal life was sad and tragic. And he was the greatest gadol. And it is not coincidence that he named his sefer Or Somayach. He was a person that was full of simcha. And his simcha was derived directly from his closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Va'ani kirvas Elokim li toiv. The Chazon Ish writes in a letter, the only simcha I have in my life is doing the mitzvahs of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, being close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, basking in the glory and the warmth of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Or Somayach was not only one of the most original thinkers of his time, and he wrote 2 magnificent svarim, the Meshech Chochmah al Torah and the Or Somayach al Rambam. He is a paragon and a symbol of Simchas HaTorah. His personal life would drag anyone down into a deep depression. And what gave him simcha was the Torah that he learned, the Torah that he taught, and the light that he brought to the world. Sitting in a little city in Dvinsk, his Torah went miktzei ha'olam va'ad kitzeiho. So sitting in this magnificent yeshiva in Yerushalayim, Yer Kodesh, is a very special privilege, and take advantage of every moment you have here. You have great rebbeim in the yeshiva, and you have so much to learn, and so much that we will be happy to teach. So as we approach these days, and the coming Sunday is already Shavuos B'Tammuz, these are issues we need to work on. Ahavas Torah and Shalom. Chazal say, Talmidei Chacham Shalom Yolam. And a joker once said, Talmidei Chacham are always making peace because they argue so much with each other that they're always busy. Who is the peacemaker today? And who is going to make Shalom tomorrow? But real Talmidei Chachamim bring peace and harmony to the world, peace and harmony to our people. And in times of war, we need this more than in any other times. I've spoken in the yeshiva a few times since this war broke out, and it's almost 2 years now. And we have so many opportunities to talk. On one hand, we saw amazing miracles. The Ramban at the end of Parshas Boy speaks about Hanisim hagedolim v'hamefursamim v'hanisim hanistorim. The supernatural, miraculous ones, and the miracles of concealment. And the Ramban's distinction is a very clear one. There are miracles that are above and beyond the realm of natural phenomena. Those were the miracles of the 10 plagues. Dam, Tzfardeya, Kinem, Orev, Kriyas, Yamsuf. But those miracles were not to be in the later days. And that is why the Ramban explains it is so important that we remember the miracles of yore, the amazing supernatural ones. It is from those miracles that we learn to believe in the miracles of concealment. There are concealed miracles. And what we have witnessed in this world is miraculous in this war, but nothing beyond the realm of nature. It would be fantastic if it would be breaking news in all the news outlets in the world. Suddenly, all the waters in Iran, in Lebanon, and in Gaza turned red. And they brought the top chemists in the world to explain this phenomenon, and to their shock, they all determined it's not even water, it's blood. And the world is still reeling from this crazy phenomena, and suddenly something else, which is totally insane, happened, and a zillion frogs sprang up from every niche in Lebanon, in Iran, and in Gaza, and not even one crossed the Lebanese border to Israel. It did not happen, and it won't happen. It can't happen. Because we knew in advance that the supernatural miracles were the ones of our forefathers, and that is why we have a mitzvah to remember those. You will know miracles, and every sensible person saw miracles in this war. And I call these miracles Nisim Nistorim Giluyim, or Nisim Giluyim Nistorim. But this is also a period of profound tragedy. We lost almost 3,000 Jews in these 2 years. And just this week, we lost 5 young soldiers. 5 young soldiers, 20 years old, from families, from boys. So this is an ongoing tragedy, and we all hope and daven it'll be over soon. But in times of war, more than in any other time, we need achdus, and we need togetherness. And I want to give a special bracha to all those Talmidim that endured this war, and they didn't run away, and they preferred to stay in yeshiva during these difficult times. The safest place to be in a time of war is in the yeshiva. Ben kois lebeis hamedrash. I do not mean to give a psak you shouldn't go to the mamad. No, you should. but let's hope that's history. But generally speaking, we learn Torah, and Torah watches over us. But we need Achdus. We always need Achdus, and especially in challenging days. Many times in the past 2 years, I quoted the Ibn Ezra. V'natati sholem ba'oretz u'shchavtem ve'ein machrid. Ibn Ezra adds one word. What a difference one word could make. V'natati sholem ba'oretz beinechem, writes Ibn Ezra. And then, u'shchavtem ve'ein machrid. If there will be internal peace, there will be external peace. If there will be peace and harmony amongst you, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises, u'shchavtem ve'ein machrid. Let us all hope and daven that the words of the Navi we should see b'kol b'yameinu. Tzom ha'rvi'i v'tzom ha'chamishi, tzom ha'shvi'i v'tzom ha'asiri, yihiyu lebeis Yehuda, lesosoin ulesimcha ulemoyedim toivim b'mheiro v'yameinu. Amen.